Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wassalamu ala Rasulullah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Allah tells us in Surah Safat, in this specific part of Surah Safat, Surah 37 in the Quran, the surah immediately after Surah Yasin, Allah tells us that there's this person who ends up in Jannah. And while they're in Jannah, while they're in paradise, they mention to some of their Jannah friends, some of their paradise friends, that, back in dunya, referring to this life, back in dunya, I used to have this one friend, this one close friend. Inni kana li qareen. And this one friend used to ask me, are you telling me that after we die and we turn into dust and bones, that we're really going to come back to life again, that we're really going to be taken into account for our deeds, both good and bad? Like, are you serious, man? So they used to mock them. This story teaches us the importance of thinking for ourselves and the importance of not necessarily going with what is popular at that time, right? We've all heard the expression, the saying, if your friend jumps off of a bridge, are you going to go and do that too? Of course, the proper answer to that would be no, meaning just because your friend is doing something wrong, don't use that as an excuse for you to go and do something irresponsible and wrong as well. This story in this surah in the Quran is reminding us of this. Don't use them as an excuse to go and do the wrong thing yourself, because if you do that, guess what? You're going to have to deal with the same consequences as them. So the Quran constantly teaches us to be thinking people, to reflect, أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ, right? To reflect, to be people who think and reflect very deeply, and to not just do something because, this other person or this other group, they're doing that and it's wrong, but hey, because they're doing it, let's go and do that too. No. We need to think for ourselves. We need to be a conscious thinking people. We need to be people of reflection. And this story clearly shows us that if we do that, and we do that responsibly, appropriately, with wisdom, then inshallah we end up in paradise. And if we don't, then we run the serious risk of ending up where? In hell. Because this friend who ends up in Jannah says what? To his friends in Jannah, I used to have this friend in dunya, this one friend who used to mock me for believing in God and the Day of Judgment. And they used to say this, they used to say that. Then Allah gives the friend who ends up in Jannah, Allah gives them the ability, somehow, Allah knows how, to see that one bad friend they had in dunya. Allah gives them the ability to see them. قال هل أنتم مطلعون فاطلع فرآه في سواء الجحيم. Allah gives the friend who ends up in Jannah, in paradise, the ability to see that bad friend, that other friend, in hellfire. Now the friend in Jannah, when they see them, they tell them, قَالَ تَاللَّهِ إِن كِدْتَ لَتُرْدِينَ. They swear by Allah, you almost dragged me down there with you. Now notice something. They did not end up in that situation. Why? Because they thought for themselves. They didn't just go, hey, my friend is doing this horrible thing, let me go and do it too. No. They thought deeply about it. Just because someone else is not wearing their mask, that's not an excuse for you to not wear your mask. Just because someone is going and doing whatever, being socially irresponsible, that is no excuse for you to do the same. Fear Allah, do the right thing. Don't use popularity as an excuse, as a logical fallacy to go and do the wrong thing. That's unacceptable regarding both deen and dunya. May Allah protect us. This person sees their former friend in hell, and what do they tell them? They swear. Tallahi is like wallahi with a little extra hot sauce, a little extra, flame to it, no pun intended. So they tell them, قَالَ تَاللَّهِ إِن كِدْتَ لَتُرْدِينَ. They swear by Allah, you almost dragged me down there too. And if it wasn't for the grace and the blessing of my Lord, then I would not have ended up in paradise. وَلَوْلَا نِعْمَةُ رَبِّي لَكُنْتُ مِنَ الْمُحْضَرِينَ. And then that scene concludes, and then they turn back to their friends in Jannah, and they're just like, if we don't have to deal with what that person is dealing with, we're good. Thank God. We're like, forget the fact that we have fruits and this and that and cushions and silk and gold, and the fact that we don't have to deal with that. Now we're good. We're good. So we need to think for ourselves. We need to reflect deeply. Just because someone else is doing something wrong, that's no excuse for us to go and do it too. Again, I conclude, if your friend goes and jumps off of a bridge, are you going to use that as an excuse for you to go and do the same thing? The answer should be no. So help us God, wallahu al-musta'an. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.